This is a bit of a different video from what I'd normally make, but I feel like I have to talk about it because it's one of the most disgusting things I've seen happen on the internet in a long time. Uh, so there was this guy. It's a shame that I have to use past tense. There was this guy called Hacks. He was a high-level Super Smash Bros. Melee player, um, and he tragically passed away very recently. Um, and just before that, he had attempted suicide by jumping in front of a train and miraculously survived, but lost his leg in the process. Um, and the whole story around hacks is just tragic. Um, and frankly, I think that a lot of the people involved will probably never have any sort of level of accountability for it. And a lot of these people see themselves as somewhat righteous. And sort of excusing themselves, saying they had nothing to do with anything. But Hax was the victim of a years long harassment and bullying campaign, uh, basically because he had some level of mental illness. And everything was pretty much excused because um, Hax clearly suffered from some sort of mental illness. I believe he had depression and some sort of severe insomnia. Um, Now, there are lots of other places you can go to find more of a full story on hacks. Simple Flips has a good video about hacks. But just to sum it up, I don't play Melee, um, but I do follow the scene as an esport. Hacks is a real old school player, been in the scene forever, since CRTs in basements and tournaments with $20 prize pools, and pretty much watched the whole scene grow into one of the biggest esports, one of the biggest fighting games in the world. And at the time, well, he made a few videos. There's another melee player by the name of Leffen, and Leffen is really fucking good at the game. He is extremely sick at melee. He is really good. But he's also an asshole. Everyone agrees. No one likes him. No one likes Leffen. He's really popular as a player because he's extremely good at the game. And not only is he just good, but he's very sort of swag at the game. His gameplay is extremely entertaining to watch, which makes him popular, even though everyone agrees that Leffen is sort of an asshole, um, kind of a terrible person. He's like a sore loser. He shits on everyone else who's good at the game. He's extremely egotistical. Everyone hates Leffen. And Hax was among these people that disliked Leffen, especially because they had some sort of personal beef going on. And so Hax had ended up releasing a series of videos called evidence.zip. Um, and evidence.zip is a 2.5 hour video uh, where Hax, you know, the dismissive way to put it would be to call it a schizo post, and lots of people have called it a schizo post. It is a ridiculously long video where Hax just repeatedly compares Leffen to Hitler, uh, compares Leffen to Light Yagami, um, basically goes through in detail comparisons between Leffen's rise to popularity and power within the Smash community and the parallels that has towards the rise of totalitarian leaders in real history, and how Leffen's psychology relates to certain dark triad psychopathic traits, and this sort of thing, how Leffen manipulates the community, these sorts of things. And it seems to me that having watched this video, I haven't watched all of the evidence.zip videos, but I have watched the original one. Um, it seems to me that most people, including myself, who actually watch the whole thing and don't just watch the evidence.zip funny moments compilation, um, come away with this this concept, this idea that there were some solid starting points in the video, but every time Hax has a genuine point, he then takes it too far. So he has some logical inference that begins from a point of making sense, and then he will stretch it to be like, and that's why Leffen is worse than actual real life Hitler, which seems a bit absurd. And so, because of that, uh, a lot of people started saying Hacks is nuts, and they got really didn't like him for doing this crash out schizo post whatever. Um, it's worth noting as well that Hacks has been a major influence in the community um, since the early days. Uh, One of the things he's known, and he's not just like a random player, right? He's not just like a random good player like Leffen is, right? He has been involved with community organizing and the community itself uh, in many important ways, including being involved with the universal controller fix and inventing the box controller because he destroyed his hands playing melee because that's what happens when you play melee, and all of the stuff that to this day is uh, still how melee is run as an esport as a community. Often originates with Hacks being a part of it. Uh, Hack started a company to sell this box controller. He started a tournament in New York. Like this guy's life was dedicated to the melee community. And so he puts out this video shitting on Leffen, again, a player everyone hates, but maybe Hacks took it too far or said some things that don't really logically correlate. Some makes a few points in the video where it seems like he is it's the sort of thing where what it reminds me of. It reminds me of watching um news reports in like 2015 of people laughing at Donald Trump. Do you know what I mean? Like all of the media seeing Trump's rise to popularity and being like, uh, if anyone had actually come out and said, "This guy's a real danger. This guy's not a joke. He's a real danger. We got to take this seriously," they got laughed out of the room. And instead, it was Trump as a joke. We can't take this seriously. We just laugh at him. Ha ha ha. He's never gonna win. Blah 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 blah. And Hax is the guy saying, no, no, no. Like, let's take this seriously for a second, right? It seems like that kind of atmosphere. Um, But I do want to acknowledge as well that evidence.zip is kind of an insane video. Like the video, again, what Leffen does is be an asshole in the melee community. He's not Hitler, right? Like Hitler killed millions of people. That's kind of a distinct. Like I think there is a distinction in terms of severity there, and I think making that comparison just so many times in a video um, affected people's ability to take hacks seriously. Um, and so you know, uh, Hacks got clowned on for doing this, um, and whatever, and then he got banned. He got banned from his local melee tournament that he helped organize, by the way. He got banned from his local melee tournament, and then the melee tournament organizers got together and started banning him from more. So he started appealing, saying, "Hey, please unban me. This is like I've run a company centered around this game. My livelihood depends on this game. It's like my passion. Can I get unbanned?" To which they responded, "No, actually, this ban is now permanent." And so they banned hacks permanently from the game. And now, as far as I'm concerned, this is pretty much evil. There are other people who have been banned permanently from Melee. They were generally, rapists, pedophiles, racists, these sorts of people. Not someone who just didn't like Leffen. Uh, no one likes Leffen. If you started banning people who didn't like Leffen, you'd have to ban the entire community. And if you started banning people who shit talk other players, you'd have to ban fucking Leffen because no one shit talks other players more than Leffen. Leffen is an asshole. Like everyone agrees that Leffen is a bad person. No one is out here saying how much Leffen is an awesome guy. Have you seen the shit he said about HBox? Like no one likes Leffen. He's objectively harassed the other players. It's like Leffen has made so many videos shitting on HBox. But how come when Hacks makes a video shitting on Leffen, it's suddenly a different situation? Well, I'll tell you. 10 minutes into the video, I'll get to the point. You look at what people are saying now that Hacks has died, and there are sort of two groups. There is one group who says, we as a community, the Melee community, we let this guy down, and we need to bear some responsibility, especially Leffen and the tournament organizers who coordinated with Leffen to keep this guy banned, which definitely contributed to the decline of his mental health. There's no question about it. He was clearly experiencing mental distress, and instead of, and they what they did was cut him off from his entire sense of community and his entire sense of purpose. As Simpleflip said in his video about Hax's passing, uh, you know, a lot of people say just find another game, just stop playing Melee, just move on. But that's not, how we treat other people in this situation. When someone wins a major, when we see Amsa finally win with Yoshi, no one sits around saying like, "Oh, if you want to play Yoshi, he's a mid tier. Give up, go play another game." When he wins, we say, "Wow, I respect this guy's dedication. He really stuck with Melee." When we see other players win after trying for so many years, after playing Melee, it's so dedicated, we say, wow, we praise their dedication. We praise the fact that they didn't give up. Um, Imagine that it was anything else that's equally valueless. Equally, the value is all, um, ethereal, mental, like a piano player. Someone dedicates their life to the piano, you know, and then injures their hands or whatever or something. No one would say like, "Oh, we'll just move on, just stop playing the piano." Like, "Oh, the fact that you even care about this is kind of weird." Like, no one would say that. Everyone would respect the fact that this person has dedicated their life to something, right? Uh, it's the case in general. It's the case in Melee for players that are popular and well liked. But for some reason, when it's Hacks, all of a sudden, oh, he just needs to move on. Oh, he should stop playing Melee and just move on with his life and find another game and whatever. Like that seems like a bizarre double standard. Um, and so you know there are other people who say no, no. The Melee community, needs to have some culpability here. Uh, and I think a reason, just from looking through all of the online discourse about this, which is what this video is really about. It's not about the online discourse, it's about what I'm about to say right now. Is that the people who don't believe that this is the community's fault, and specific community members, certain specific community members, who let him down. The people who don't believe that, they say, well, he was nuts. He was crazy. He was mentally ill. He needed professional help. It's not our responsibility to let this guy back into our community and whatever. You know, he was clearly insane and he needed professional help, right? And on the surface, this seems kind of reasonable if you're not mentally ill, if you don't know any mentally ill people. Now, me, I'm mentally ill. I have bipolar 2 and autism. Um, I have all my friends are nuts. All my friends have something, and especially when it comes to bipolar, you know, bipolar can make you do some crazy things when you're manic. It can make you say things that you would never say in other situations, and do things. It's a bizarre brain to live in. But anyone who's friends with mentally ill people, or is mentally ill themselves, I think would have a very different opinion. Um, Basically, what I've gotten out of this whole situation is that they don't care about you. What's going to happen is if you're mentally ill, people will walk around and they'll say all day that they have some vague support. They'll say that they support mental health awareness and all of this stuff. But the second they run into a person who is mentally ill, not in like a fun way, you know, who's not just like, oh, I get socially anxious when I go to the Starbucks and get my coffee. Oh, aren't I quirky? Someone who's mentally ill in a way that is kind of abrasive and kind of, you know, affects their social standing, you know, suddenly it's, they need to get locked up. Oh, they need to, this is not my job. They're unpersoned now. They're not really a person. They need help. We need to delegate this to a psychiatrist because I, as a human being, am not capable of treating this person as a human being anymore. This is basically cattle that needs to be herded to someone who can fix them. But that's not how brains work. That's not how people work. You need to get a bit of empathy in your life. You need to understand that people who have mental illness are human beings too, who also have wants and desires and need companionship and friendship and sympathy just like anyone else. You know, And then the second he dies, the second Hax dies, all of these players come out of the woodwork. All of these motherfucking people. Suddenly HBox. Oh, I'm so sorry that he died. When have you ever advocated for him? Never. Oh, Zane. Oh, I'm so sorry that he died. I've seen you laughing at fucking people saying free hacks. Like, I've seen the clips. You never advocated for him. Like, where the fuck were you when he was alive? It's too late now. What do you mean free? What do you mean rest in peace hacks? You didn't say shit while he was fucking alive you know like all of these top players other than Mewtwo King has been like, and he doesn't even play, he's retired, but Mewtwo King is the only top player who ever was fucking reasonable about this really obvious case where this guy clearly needed community around him and was cut off by that community for no good fucking reason. For no good fucking reason. He made a video calling out Leffen. Leffen is a bad guy. Leffen fucking deserves it. Like, and even if he didn't, who gives a shit? It's a fucking YouTube video. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. He got completely cut off from his support network and his community and whatever, based on some shit that fucking there's when when fucking Hacks makes a video saying Leffen is a bad guy. Oh, this is unforgivable, and he must be cut off from the community forever, and socially murdered and whatever. And constantly harassed over it. People will say quotes, spam quotes from the video at him, laugh at him, whatever. No matter how many times he apologizes, he took the videos down, by the way, and he's apologized. Just done nothing but apologize since the videos came out. It was extremely sad to see every time he would apologize and just get clowned on. Yeah, and never unbanned. Oh, but when fucking HBox and Mango get up on stage and make a fucking PowerPoint presentation about how Leffen is evil, that's funny. That's a funny joke. That's a funny joke that we can all love because we all love HBox and Mango, and I do love HBox and Mango, and that is a funny joke. So why is it okay for them to do it? Why is it okay for them to do it, but not okay when Hax does it? Like, what the fuck? Everyone shits on Leffen. He's fucking Leffen, bro. Like, it's ridiculous. The idea that he should get permit for this is already insane. Not counting any other circumstances about who Hax is as a person and his contributions to the community or whatever. Like, not counting anything else. The idea that anyone would get permabanned for a community just for speaking ill of a good player is insane. It's such an insane double standard because everyone does it, but only Hax got banned for it. And even like a temporary ban, I could maybe understand, but perma is insane. It's like it's incomprehensible decision making from these TOs. Um, I, and it's not like he's some random guy. He's a good player. He's one of the best. He was one of the best players online. on Slippy. Um, but that's pretty much what happens if you're mentally ill in a way that actually makes you kind of abrasive and makes you make strange decisions, and in a way that actually is visible, other than just being quirky. No one gives a shit about you. In fact, they actively hate you. They don't want to be around you because you're weird, because you're uncomfortable to be around, right? And they'll defend this decision, like Slime is defending this decision, right? Like Slime, um, who you might, even if you're not a Melee fan, might know because uh, he's in the Ludwig sphere. You know, Slime, big Melee community member, as far as I can tell, doesn't even play the game anymore. Has been shitting on hacks since day one. He's been always shitting on hacks, and he's on Twitter right now saying "Rest in peace, hacks." And then when he gets called out for it in the comments, he's like, "Yeah, I shit on hacks again. I shit on everyone." Like, okay, no, you don't. No, you fucking don't. Like, what do you mean? Not in the same way. There's a distinction. There's a difference. Like, oh yeah, well, look, I'm sad that Hacks died, but I would join in the cyberbullying campaign again if I could run it back. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How could you possibly think that's a reasonable position to take? If you're mentally ill, they don't care about you. If you're mentally ill in a way that makes you behave even slightly outside of the social norm, suddenly you're just unpersoned. You're not a person anymore. Like any of the rules that would normally apply to helping a friend, helping not just a friend, a human being, right? Any other rules that would apply, like people need a community, humans are social creatures. Any of these things, people who dedicate their life to something they love are respectable. Any of the normal social values that apply suddenly become indicators that you're not a person. Suddenly become indicators that there's something wrong with you. Anyone else gets cut off from their community and cut off from their passion that they love and is sad about it, it would be like, yeah, completely reasonable. But if the person is mentally unwell, suddenly those same emotions are just indicators of their mental illness because they're not a person anymore. They're not treated as a human being anymore. Suddenly, oh, he just needs professional help. He doesn't need to be let into the Melee community. He needs therapy. I'm sure. Look, I don't know Hacks. I don't know what he was up to, but normally people would try and get therapy, and it's not easy, and it's not free. It costs money, and like this idea that therapy, like it's this bizarre idea that people who have never had any real mental health issues in their life, they somehow think that just talking to a therapist once a week will like solve all of your mental health problems in life. It fucking doesn't. Okay, that's not how it works. That's not how brains work. That's that, and it's disgusting. Uh, the way that fucking community treated this guy. Uh, they've literally been nicer to pedophiles. I'm not exaggerating. I wish I was exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. All this guy did was be a bit nuts. That's all he did. Was be a little bit kooky, right? In a way that was oh, it's kind of off-putting. You know, it's fucking depressing to watch. It's depressing to watch all these people react like this. And there are lots of people who support hacks, but none of them, other than maybe Mewtwo King, are like notable in the community. Um, you know, and bizarrely, what I've noticed is a lot of the people who are coming out supporting hacks and calling out the community are like weird fucking anti-woke right-wing crusaders. Like this is not an anti-woke issue. This is just some random guy who was the target of a fucking harassment campaign and tried to kill himself and then died. Like what this has nothing to do with left versus right-wing politics. This is just another classic example of shitting on people who you feel like you can shit on because they're unpersoned because they're not mentally normal. I don't even think Hacks was that like I've seen plenty of videos of Hacks talking, plenty of clips, streams, and plenty of his. He just seems He seems pretty coherent. He doesn't seem he's not in the midst of psychosis. I've had friends who have been psychotic and talked to them while they were in the psychotic episodes. And like that's something where okay, there's nothing you can do. These they're not living in the same reality anymore. And that's a situation where there really is no choice, but they need to get some sort of medication or something, right? Normally, sleep is the big thing for someone who's having a psychotic episode. I've talked to when you talk to someone who's in the midst of psychosis, it's very easy to tell because they speak in a sort of word salad, like they don't form the same sort of coherent thoughts. That Hacks never came across like that. Hacks was never psychotic. He was never like not capable of the same sort of logic that people are capable of. He was always logical and coherent. He just, seemed like a normal guy. He just made one video once. That's all he did. He just made one video where he shat on Leffen. And listen, it's an entertaining video. I may not agree with everything in it. I think it goes too far, but you can't deny it's an entertaining video. Uh, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Is just don't forget, okay? These whatever you want to call them, neurotypicals, whatever. They the one thing they hate more than anything else is people who uh are like their mental illness isn't cute. People whose uh mental health makes them abrasive, or they no longer fit the social code. That's the thing they can't handle. They can't stand it. And the second they are called out for it, the second that they are forced to think that maybe they bear some responsibility, they can offload it directly. This is the purpose of the uh, the the biopower system, right? They can immediately offload any responsibility onto biopower. They can immediately offload any responsibility onto psychiatry, and say, well, this person no longer fits in the same category of human as my friends do, as I do. This is now the responsibility of some other entity to take care of. I don't have to treat this person like a human being. They have exited the category of human being. The same rules don't apply to them, and so I am completely forgiven and bear no responsibility for cutting them off from their support network and community and passion and livelihood, because you know this is they need to seek professional help. They need to see a psychiatrist, whatever. Um, you know, these must be people who have never had any problems in their life like this before, because they don't like. You can only say that if you don't know. I don't know how it is in the U.S. Okay, I don't know what goes on in America. I know the American healthcare system is fucked, so I'm going to assume it's the same, if not worse, over there. But here, as someone who is mentally nuts, I've tried to see psychiatrists before and psychologists and therapists. It's not easy. Long ass waiting lists. If you go via the NHS, they just don't offer it, right? NHS, they don't offer one-on-one therapy if you're over 18. Uh, they only do group therapy once a month, and even those have long waiting lists, and often they're not even in person, they're just over the phone. Um, and if yeah, they'll give you drugs. They'll hand out SSRIs like candy, but they won't talk to you. And if you go the private route, it is extremely expensive. It is too expensive for me to afford. It's just that's it. There's nothing else to say. It's just too expensive. And even that is RNG. Like the idea that every therapist is just a therapist who's exactly the same and interchangeable is again something that someone who's never been here would say. Like that's not the case. You can have some therapists are extremely dismissive, or don't understand your problems at all. Um, there are some times where people are, um, uh, you know, how do I put this? Therapists have, they're expected to have a broad knowledge of everything, but that's not possible. right? There's too much variance in human psychology for every therapist to have. So there are some times when people go to therapy and the therapist just does not fucking know what to do with you because they're not used to it. You know, uh, they're not familiar with this person's issues. And unlike, for some bizarre reason, unlike every other area of medicine where you would be referred to a specialist, therapy is not like this. They will never refer you to a specialist. It is up to you, the mentally ill person seeking help, to realize that this therapist doesn't know what they're talking about and try and find another one. And none of them advertise themselves well. Like, there's this is just some shit that you would like. This is stuff that every insane person knows. Every mad person knows all of this, just like you should know this, like, oh yeah, this is obvious, you know. Chances are, even if you manage to afford a therapist or find any therapist, they're not going to be a good one. Like, the search for actually a good therapist who is also affordable and available, like, this is a rare thing. Like, they don't just come about freely. So this concept, even the beginning flawed premise that somehow this isn't our responsibility and we need to hand this off to the medical establishment, like, even this beginning flawed premise is like, even if you take it as true, it still isn't reasonable because this is just not how the real world functions. These, you know, this fucking finding actually good mental health support is hard, and a lot of it is just luck and money, which people don't have. Uh, it's it's very saddening. He didn't need to be let back into the community. He needed therapy. Like, that's just free and easy, and like, you know, he's not a person anymore who needs community. He's a fucking animal who needs to be locked up in a fucking mental hospital. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Hacks Money.